Well, here we are again with another cooking video. I ain't made a video in a while. Actually, it's been months now, but on this episode, I'm gonna cook seafood pasta. Right here, I have my ingredients laid out. This is all I have right here to make the seafood pasta, minus the seasoning. I'll get to the seasoning in a little bit. So, right here we have a bag of shrimp, 41.50 count. You have a pound of crab meat. Have some crawfish tails. Some lobster bisque. Gonna make it all nice and creamy. You have some mini scallops. Have a brick of roll butter. I always keep some handy in the freezer. This stuff lasts for months and it's amazing. Have some bell peppers. Some chopped onions. Some garlic. Onion and garlic pasta sauce. Some ginger. Now we have Miss Miller's old-fashioned Kluski noodles. These are some of the best noodles I've ever tasted, and they go real well in any type of pasta scampi recipe. Got 2 bags of noodles, so let's get to it. First thing I'm gonna do is chop up the vegetables and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have my bell peppers, onions, garlic, and ginger all diced up. We have the bell peppers, red, gold, and green, Rastafarian colors. We have the onions. We have the garlic, and we have the ginger. I had to grate the ginger to get it real fine. So here's my chopped up vegetables. About to put these in a pan here in a minute. But before I cook them in a pan, with any cookware, with any pan or pot that I use, I usually have to disinfect it and sanitize it. I sanitize it usually by boiling some water in it to release any type of grease or anything that might be left over on the bottom of it. So boil some water in it, release up that grease or any type of dish liquid residue that might be laying on the surface of it, and then pour it out, let it heat back up, dry out before I cook inside of it. So here's the seasonings that I'm going to be using. Got a little bit of Tuscan garlic seasoning blend. Some gray sea salt. Let it try to focus there. Some gray sea salt. Extra fine. Got some curry style powder. I don't know what's going on with the focus right now. Maybe it's because of the steam from the pot. Maharaja style curry powder. I ordered it from myspicesage.com. Got some Worcester sauce. Can't forget the Lawry's garlic salt. Washington State's very own Johnny seasoning. Some black pepper. Parsley flakes. little bit of lemon juice in the bottle. I ain't got no actual real lemons right now, so lemon juice gonna just have to work. Can't forget the bisque. And we got some Melinda's hot sauce. Red Savina. The stuff is some pretty good tasting hot sauce. And for this recipe, I'm going to be using some organic coconut oil. So the pan, cooking pan has been sanitized. I'm going to pour it out. And I also have the pot for the noodles. I also have that sanitizing with some water in it. Put it on a boil to release any type of residue that may be on the surface at the bottom. So I pour that out in a little bit and get to cooking. Alright, so I've sanitized my pan. See the steam rise out. And I've sanitized the pot for the noodles. So I'm about to get started in the cooking process. Got a little bit of Carrington coconut cooking oil. Just gonna pour a little bit of that inside of the pan. I usually don't measure anything. I just straight iris, you know. I just straight iris it. You get that? Iris. Iris. I just straight iris it, man. That's all that's needed. So I got the oil in the pan, gonna let that heat up for a little bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna get this noodle started. I'm pouring some water in it. Right now I got some bottles of spring water. Just gonna pour a few bottles in there. Damn, that let up a lot of smoke like a volcano. Water shouldn't have no time heating up. Got it on 8 right now on the stove, the temperature of 8. I just pour a few bottles in there, enough that I think is enough to cook those 2 bags of noodles. I usually don't put too much water because I usually don't want to drain it. I just want enough water to cook the noodles and then still have the noodles almost done. What they call it, al dente. Have the noodles almost done. It soaked up all the water, so then I could pour my rest of the ingredients in it, mix it up without having to drain it. So I would say maybe about 4 bottles of water. If it's not enough, then I could add another bottle later, but I'll just go 4 bottles for now. And just put the lid back on there so it can heat up, get to a boil. Then I'm gonna add some butter, some oil to it, and start the process with the noodles. Make sure the oil is all mixed up in the pan. It's smoking right now. I got the temperature on 4 right now on the stove. Every stove is different, but 4 shouldn't cause it to burn or anything. Should be just a nice mellow cooking process. So I'm about to pour these vegetables in. It's probably gonna be a little sizzle. Just like that. My little trusted wooden spoon, been using it for almost most of my cookings. You know, it's all stained up with curry and all of that, but it's very clean. Go ahead and mix that in there. Just saute these vegetables for a little bit, a few minutes. Make sure the ginger gets all incorporated into it. Make sure it's all mixed in well. Turn up the heat a little bit to 6. And make sure those vegetables get a nice cook. I'm gonna add a little bit of seasoning to it. Add a little bit of garlic salt, a little bit of Lorry's. Sprinkle some of that in there. All right. A little bit of Johnny's. Sprinkle some of that in there. You got the Tones Tuscan garlic. Sprinkle some of that in there. Because our oil is going to release a lot of the flavor from that seasoning. And you can't forget the curry powder. You got to cook the curry powder in the oil. Make sure the oil, you know, release that nice, wonderful curry flavor. And some of that, yeah. And just mix it in. I'm gonna add my seafood here in a little bit. Turn the heat up to 7. Mix it in there. Okay, this dish is gonna be awesome. So we let that cook down for a little bit, then I'll be right back when I get ready to pour the noodles in the pot and pour the seafood in the pan. So the vegetables have been steaming down for about a couple of minutes now. Remember I mentioned our roll butter? Can't forget the roll butter. Just add a little bit of roll butter in there. And for the noodles, I'm just gonna add this other big chunk of roll butter into that noodle right there. Make sure this get all mixed in. Make sure the butter stays in the middle, the hottest part of the pan. Now I'm gonna drop the crawfish in. Don't worry, everything's been rinsed off and clean. Drop the crawfish in there. Can't forget the little bit of juices. Mix that in. Right. Temperature kind of went down a little bit because I added that crawfish and it was still a little cool, so drop the shrimp in there. Shrimp has been rinsed off as well. I'm just gonna add a little bit of sea salt to it. Sprinkle some of that in there. Alright. Let's get that all incorporated. Telling you, this recipe is gonna turn out pretty good. It's probably not the standard way of cooking, but it works well for me and it tastes awesome. Alright. I'm going to add the scallops as well. Add a little bit of lemon juice. Sprinkle some of that in there. Now just put the hot sauce, a little bisque, Melinda. Don't worry, it ain't gonna be spicy at all. Unless you're a person that can't take spicy food at all. A little bit of black pepper. Sprinkle a little bit of that in there. Yeah. Some Johnny's. Just remember, I ain't over seasoning it. I'm just doing a little sprinkle at a time. And mix that all up. Don't worry, this recipe is almost finished. Shrimp don't take a whole lot of long time to cook. Plus I ain't trying to overcook it because I'm still gonna mix it in with the noodles. And that's gonna continue the cooking process as well. Make sure you get all these little vegetables that's hanging off on the side. Get these little stragglers. You know, make sure everything is mixed up well. A little liquid is going to build its own little gravy. Don't worry, I ain't forgot the crab. The crab is going to be incorporated as well. Or maybe in a different way. It's a little Worcestershire sauce. You can't forget it. You can't use it. You can use this on anything, just not only beef or chicken. You can use it on seafood as well, and it works wonders. Mix that all in there. I'm left-handed, by the way. That's why I mix my food like this with the left hand. In case you didn't know. Yeah. I just even that out. And just let that ride out for a few minutes. Maybe about 5 minutes. Maybe even more. Right now we're going to just focus on the noodles. The water just starting to get hot with the noodles. And that's a thick pan, so probably kind of take a little while to get up to a boil. Sprinkle a little bit more coconut oil in there. Make sure ain't no noodles gonna be sticking or nothing. Got the garlic salt as usual. Sprinkle some of that in there. And you got the sea salt. Hit it with some of that as well. Yep. And the Johnnies. And that should be it. Almost getting to a rolling boil right now. Bust out my other little utensils, stir it up. And right now, the heat temperature right now is at 8. I'm gonna reduce it down. I'm gonna reduce it down to 6. The water's starting to boil. I'm gonna go ahead and add my noodles. It's not at a rolling boil right now, but it'll be all right. Add my bag of noodles, Miss Miller's. Right there. See how it's almost covering the noodles? I could turn it down to 4. Let it cook a little low and slow. Go on ahead and check the seafood. It's cooking up real well. I ain't worrying about each piece being grilled or have a little grill mark or none of that. You know, just making pasta. Just making some nice creamy, flavorful, and tasty pasta. Seafood style. With a little bit of curry in it to give it that extra bang. And everything should turn out real well. Alright. What I'm gonna do right now is add a little bit of the pasta sauce. To the dish. Mix that in there. Make sure that tomato sauce get all incorporated into the juices. Yep, just like that. I'm gonna let that ride out for a few more minutes. Check on my noodles. They're already starting to cook down. Let that cook for a couple of minutes and be right back. Alright, it's been about 3 minutes and I'm about to let the seafood reduce down a little bit, but most of the time, usually, if I have space in the pan, I usually will add the crab directly to the rest of the seafood. But this time, I'm gonna just add the crab directly to the noodles. It's still gonna absorb the flavor from the sauces and everything from the seafood in the pan, so ain't no big worry. So as you see there, I have the legs right there. It's all really proportioned real well. Has the legs on top, the minced meat, and then the lump meat on the bottom. So you gotta take one of these and try it out. So I add the pan crab. Directly to the noodles and mix that all up. All right. I'm gonna let that cook down and reduce down for a few more minutes. So it can soak up and evaporate some of the water up out of it. And then I'm gonna add the seafood and the lobster bisque. So be right back. So the noodles been cooked down pretty good. I mean, still got a little bit of liquid in there, but that's gonna just make it all creamy, you know, and expand the amount of food, the amount of servings. Got that all mixed up. Next, I'm about to add the lobster bisque. It's gonna make it extra creamy. This is where the magic comes in right here. The lobster bisque. Shake out the excess. Right. Give that a good mix. Make sure it gets all super creamy. Yeah. And not to waste any time, just go on ahead and dump the rest of that seafood in there. Try not to scrape my pan, scratch my pan. Yep. And then just mix all of that in. Trust me, it kind of looks soupy right now. But wait until it's finished. You can see it's gonna be awesome. Kind of like a creamy seafood noodle soup, where the soup liquid is not as thin. It's gonna be real thick and creamy. A little bit more salt for last measures. Yeah. And that's it. I'm gonna let that go for about 5 minutes and that should be it. Seafood pasta should be done in about 5 minutes, so see you in a little bit. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes and I would say this meal is finished. I'm just gonna sprinkle some parsley flakes all over it. This don't really shake out a whole lot of parsley, just a few flakes at a time, so it's not a lot that I'm putting in there. It's just, it don't really dispense a whole lot. So garnish it with a little bit of parsley. Mix all of that in there. Alright. Get the little stuff that's trying to stick on the bottom of the pot. That's that flavor. You gotta get that up off of there and mix that in. It's gonna really give it a nice flavor. Not letting it stick to the bottom and burn. Getting it up off right before it burns. Added a nice little toast, little hint of toast to it. Okay. Mix that up. Turn it off. And let that cool down for a bit before I plate it up and show you how it looks and give it a little taste. So in a little bit. Alright, this meal is finished, so just about to dip in there and just start pulling out guapfuls. Guapfuls of pasta. I ain't really worrying about the presentation, you know. Presentation is in my stomach. And that's it all right there, folks. Close this up. The rest of the liquid that's in there is going to absorb into the noodles and become nice and thick, especially when I put it in the refrigerator overnight. Imagine how it's going to taste in the morning. It's going to be super awesome. Alright. So here we have it. Seafood pasta. Pretty decent recipe, in my opinion. Give it a little taste, and you could get a little bit of the gravy off the side. I don't think the shrimp or anything is overcooked. Alright. You know, it's weird to eat pasta with a spoon, but that was the closest utensil to me at this time, so pretty nice. Got a nice curry flavor to it. Not spicy at all. Could probably even use some more pepper. Got a scallop in there. And shrimp. A little crawfish. Pretty quick recipe. Ain't really nothing from scratch either, you know, most of the stuff was already packaged from the grocery store. Just had to prepare it. So if you ain't have the time to prepare stuff from scratch and you want a quick seafood meal and you have the ingredients on hand, it won't hurt to try this at all. You know, it's pretty good, you know. And with the 2 bag of noodles, depending on how much you eat, you know, this could last you maybe 3-4 days. You know, it's so addicting, you're gonna want to probably finish it in like maybe 2 days. You know, pretty awesome. This is like my 5th time making it, so it's becoming one of my signature dishes. So I hope you enjoy the recipe, and I hope to find the motivation to continue to make more videos in the future. You know, I've been slacking, so we'll see. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and until next time.